Shabbat Shalom. Oops. One more thing. Sorry. Shabbat Shalom. Welcome to Agudath Israel Etz Ahayem Synagogue here in Montgomery, Alabama. I am Rabbi Scott Kramer. Hope everyone has had a wonderful week. And I'm so glad to be celebrating Kabbalat Shabbat with all of you. We are praying out of Siddur Lev Shalem, which is downloadable as a PDF file from our synagogue's website. And we'll begin tonight, page 5, with Shalom Aleichem. Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Asharet, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech Malchei Amlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Boachem L'Shalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech Malchei Amlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Barchuni L'Shalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech Malchei Hamlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Tzedchem L'Shalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech Malchei Hamlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. We are on page 11, Psalm 95. Lechu nechanena, lechu nechanena, lechu nechanena ladunai, lechu nechanena, lechu nechanena, lechu nechanena ladunai. Naria, Naria, Letzor Yishenu, Nekad Mafana Betoda. Naria, Naria, Letzor Yishenu, Bizmirot Naria Lo. Lechu Neranena, Lechu Neranena, Lechu Neranena Ladunai. Lechu Neranena, Lechu Neranena, Lechu Neranena Ladunai. Naria, Naria, Letzor Yishenu, Nekad Mafana Betoda. Naria, Naria, Letzor Yishenu, Bizmirot Naria Lo. We continue in English. Let us go and sing to Adonai. Let us trumpet praise to our protector. Filled with thanks, let us greet God, raising our voice in song. Great is Adonai, a greater sovereign than all other deities. God's hands form the earth's deep. Mountain crests, too, are God's work. The sea is God's, for God made it. Dry land was fashioned by God's hands. Come, let us bow and kneel. Let us bend our knees in the presence of Adonai, who formed us. For Adonai is our God, and we are God's flock, sheep in God's caring hands. If only you would listen today to God's voice and not become hard-hearted, like the people at Merivah, like the time at Massah, in the desert, when your ancestors tried me and tested me, though they had seen what I had wrought. For 40 years I was troubled by that generation, and I said, these are people whose hearts have gone astray. They do not know my way, so in anger I swore they would not enter my rest. Arba'im shana kut bedor va'omar to'eh levavim, V'hem lo yadid rachai, asher nishpati v'yapi, im yavaon el menuchati. Page 13, Psalm 96. Shiru ladonai shir chadash, shiru ladonai kol haaretz, shiru ladonai baruch shemo, basru meyom leyom yeshuato, sapru vagoyim kevodo, bechol ha'amim nifliotov, ki gadol Adonai, o mehulal miyod. no rahu. How ko Elohim lai 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 ko Elohe ha'amim elilim v'Adonai shamayim asap ad ve'adar lefanav oz v'tiferet b'mikdasho avul Adonai mishpachot amim avul Adonai kavod v'oz avul Adonai ke'evod shemo seu mincha Uvahu lechadzerod havlai lai lai shtachavu ladonai behadrat kodesh chilum mipanav kol haaretz imrum vagoyim Adonai malach avtikum tevel balatimot yadinamim b'meisharim yismechu hashamayim v'tagel haaretz Yiramayamu Melo Yalo Sadai Vechol Asher Bo Lai 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 Aziraninu Kolat Seyar Lifnei Adonai Kiva lishpot haaretz yishpot tevel betzedek ve'yamin be'emunato yalai lai 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 yai lai 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 yai lai 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 yai lai 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 yai lai lai lai. We continue page 15 with Psalm 97. Adonai reigns, let the earth be glad, the many distant lands rejoice. Clouds and thick darkness surround the divine, righteousness and justice secure God's throne. Fire goes before God, consuming besiegers round about. Flashes of lightning illumine the land, the earth watches and trembles, mountains melt like wax at the approach of Adonai, at the approach of the Master of all the earth. The heavens tell of God's righteousness, and all the nations see God's glory. Worshippers of idols be shamed for praising false gods. All that is deemed supreme bow before God. Zion hears of it and rejoices. The cities of Judah exalt as you, Adonai, pass judgment. You, Adonai, are above all that is earthly, exalted over all that is worshipped as divine. Those who love Adonai hate evil. God protects the lives of the faithful, saving them from the hands of the sinful. Light is sown for the righteous and joy for the upright. Rejoice in Adonai, you righteous people, and thank God as you pronounce the divine holy name. Or Zarula Tzadik Ulishrolev Simcha Simchu Tzadikim Badunai Vahodu Lezecher Kadeshom. Page 17, Psalm 98. Mizmor Shiru Ladonai Shir Chadash Ki Niflot Asa Hoshia Lo Yemino Ozaro HaKodsho Adia Adonai Yeshuato Le'en Goyim Gilat Tzidkato Zachar Chasta Ve'emunato Levei Yisrael Ra'u Cholav Se'aretz Et Yeshuat Eloheinu Horiu Ladonai Kol Haaretz Bitchum veranenu v'zameru zamru ladonai bechinar v'kol zimara b'chatzot rod v'kol shofar hariu lifnei hamelech Adonai yiramayam umaloho tevel v'yoshveva neharot yimcha uchaf Yachad arim yiranenu lifnei Adonai kiva lishbot haaretz yishbot tevel b'tzedek v'yamim b'meisharim yalai lalai 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 yalai lalai lalai yalai lalai 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 Yalai la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 We continue with Psalm 99, page 19. Adonai reigns, nations tremble. The one enthroned amidst the cherubim makes the world quake. Adonai is great in Zion above all nations. They shall acknowledge your name, saying, Great, awe-inspiring Holy One. A sovereign strength lies in the love of justice, and you forge the paths of truth, judging Jacob righteously and justly. Exalt Adonai our God, bow down before God, the Holy One. Moses and Aaron among God's priests, and Samuel among those who called upon the divine name, called to you and you answered them. You spoke to them from amidst the cloud. They kept your covenant and the law you gave them. You answered them, Adonai our God. You were a forgiving God to them, even as you punished them for their transgressions. Exalt Adonai our God and bow down at God's holy mountain, for Adonai our God is holy. Romemu Adonai Eloheinu v'ishtachavu la'ar kadosho, ki kadosh Adonai Eloheinu. We rise, if you are able, page 21, Psalm 29. Mizmor leDavid, avu ladonai b'nei Elim, avu ladonai kavod vos, avu ladonai kavod shemo, ishtachavu ladonai behadrat kodesh, kol Adonai al hamayim, el kavod hirim Adonai omayim rabim, kol Adonai ba'koach, kol Adonai be'adar, kol Adonai shover arazim, vayshaber Adonai et al zehalvanon, vayarkidem kemo egel, Lebanon v'Sirion kemo venrehemim, kol Adonai chotzev lavotesh, kol Adonai yachil midbar, yachil Adonai midbar kadesh, kol Adonai yecholel ayalot, vayechasop yaharot, uvehechalo kulo merkavod, Adonai lama bul yashav, Yeshev Adonai melech leolam, Adonai oz li'amo yitem, Adonai yivarech et amo v'shalom. You may be seated. We continue with Psalm 9, with Lechadodi, page 23. Lechadodi likrat kala p'nei Shabbat nikabela, Lechadodi likrat kala p'nei Shabbat nikabela, Shamor v'zachor b'dibur echad, Ishmi'anu elam yuchad, Adonai echad, Ushamo echad, L'shemu tiferet v'litila, Lechadodi likrat kala p'nei Shabbat nikabela, Likrat Shabbat lechu v'nelcha, ki mikor abiracha merosh mikedem nesucha, so maaseh b'machshvat chila lecha dodi likrat kala p'nei Shabbat nikabela, mikdash melech ir melucha, Kumitzi mitocha hafecha ravlach shevet biyemek habacha v'hu yachamohu alaychem lalecha dodi likrat kala p'nei Shabbat nikabela hitnari me'afar kumi livshevik de tifartechami ayad ben yishai beit alachmi karva el nafshi geyala Lechadodi likrat kala p'nei Shabbat nikabela hitoreri kiva ore kumi ori shir daberi kevod Adonai alayich nigla, page 24. Ichadodi likrat kala p'nei Shabbat nikabela, Lechadodi likrat kala p'nei Shabbat nikabela, lo tevoshi v'lo tikami מה תשתוכחי ומה תמיבך, יחסו אני הימי, ונבנתה ירלתי לה, לך דודי לקראת קלה, פני שבת נקבלה, והיו למשיסה שעשייך, ורחקו כל מבלייך, יסיס עלייך אלוהייך, כי נחס חתן על כלה, לך דודי לקראת קלה, פני שבת נקבלה, ימין ושמאל תפרוצי ואת אדוני תריצי, היד איש בן פרצי ונשמחה ונגילה, לך דודי לקראת קלה, פני שבת נקבלה. We rise as we face towards the entrance, towards the west, to greet the Shabbat bride. בואי ושלום עטרת בעלה, גם בשמחה ובצלה, תוך אמוני עם סגולה. בואי חלה, לך דודי לקראת קלה, פני שבת נקבלה. You may be seated. We continue with Psalm 92 on page 27. A psalm, a song of the day of the Shabbat. It is good to thank you, Adonai, and sing to your name most high, to proclaim your love at daybreak, your faithfulness each night. Finger the lute, pluck the harp, let the sound of the lyre rise up. You gladden me with your deeds, Adonai, and I shall sing of your handiwork. How wonderful are your works, Adonai, how subtle your designs. The arrogant do not understand, the fool does not comprehend this. The wicked flourish like grass, only to be destroyed forever. But you, Adonai, are exalted for all time. Surely your enemies, Adonai, surely your enemies will perish. All who commit evil will be scattered. As a wild bull raises up its horn, you raised my head high, anointed it with fresh oil. As my enemies gather against me, my gaze remains steady, for my ears listen and hear. The righteous flourish like the date palm, thrive like a cedar in Lebanon. Planted in the house of Adonai, they flourish in our God's courtyards. In old age they remain fruitful, still fresh and bountiful, proclaiming Adonai is upright, my rock in whom there is no flaw. Tzadik tamar yifrach, ki erez balvanon yizkeh shetulim beveit Adonai bechatzrot Eloheinu yafrichu od yenuvun beseva deshenim verananim yeyu lehagid ki yashar Adonai tzuri v'lo havlatabo. Page 29, Psalm 93. Adonai is sovereign, robed in strength, robed in splendor, girded in strength. The earth stands firm, not to be dislodged. From earliest time you are enthroned, you are eternal. The rivers rise up, Adonai. The rivers raise up their roar. The rivers raise up their waves above the roar of the vast sea and the majestic breakers of the ocean. Adonai stands supreme in the heavens. In your house, beautiful in its holiness, your testimonies endure, Adonai, for all time. So welcome to everyone. I hope everyone has had a wonderful week. Shabbat Shalom. The last two portions of the book of Exodus apply and repeat information found in previous passages of the Torah. In Parshat Vayakel, today's portion, it's a double portion, Vayakel Pekudei. The tabernacle is constructed in its detail following the prescriptions found in the portion of Terumah in... Okay, all right, I have no idea. I'm going to put that over here. Sorry about that. In Parshat Vayakel, the tabernacle was constructed in its detail following the prescriptions found in the portion of Terumah. In the portion of Pekudei, the priestly garments are made again following the details laid out earlier in the portion Tetzaveh. Why is it that the Torah needs to repeat every detail when describing the making of the tabernacle and the garments? Wouldn't it have been enough for the Torah to simply say that the temple was constructed and the garments were made as God had commanded? Several reasons for repetition can be suggested. First, the Torah may want to make the very point that the commands were followed in great detail. Presenting the details of the law shows that nothing mandated by God was overlooked. Another possibility is that presenting the details points to a loving involvement in this process. Each step in making the tabernacle and the garments was an expression of the love that Moses and the people felt towards God. But for me, the answer to our question may lie in considering the sequence of events in the latter part of Exodus. The portion of Terumah deals with the command to make the tabernacle. Tetzaveh follows with the command of the priestly garments. Immediately following these portions, the importance of Shabbat is mentioned in the portion of Ki Tisa. Not coincidentally, the portion of Vayakel, which follows Ki Tisa, mentions Shabbat at its very beginning. The building of the tabernacle found in Vayakel and the making of the garments found in Pekudei then follow. The sequence is truly a mirror opposite with one notable exception. Whereas the command of the tabernacle and priestly garments was followed by Shabbat, in the actual implementation of the laws, Shabbat comes first. In Judaism, there are two sanctities: the sanctity of place and the sanctity of time. As important as place may be, time is of even greater importance. Perhaps then it can be suggested that the reason why the Torah repeats the commandments in detail is to point out that Shabbat, the epitome of the sanctity of time, is even more important than the sanctity of space, represented by the tabernacle and the garments. In his book, The Sabbath, Rabbi Abraham Joshua Heschel points out that the acquisition of space is an appropriate human quest. But life goes wrong when one spends all of his or her time to amass things. For to have more does not mean to be more. It is interesting to note that the incident that falls between the command and the implementation is the sin of the golden calf. The cheruvim, the angelic forms atop the ark, were holy objects. The golden calf, which the Jews may have seen as a replacement, was a defiling of place. Precisely because of this perversion of the sanctity of space, the Torah deems it important to repeat the whole sequence but to place Shabbat first so that its spirit be infused in every detail of the construction of the tabernacle and making of the priestly garments. This teaches that ultimately we are a people who carve out our empires in time and not in space. Shabbat Shalom. We continue our service with Ma'ariv, page 39a. Please rise for the Baruch Hu, the call to worship. Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach. Baruch Adonai Barach Le'olam Avoed. You may be seated. Baruch atah Adonai, our God, sovereign of time and space, whose word brings the evening dusk, whose wisdom opens the gates of dawn, whose understanding changes the day's division, whose will set the succession of seasons and arranges the stars in their places in the sky, who creates day and night, who rolls light before darkness and darkness from light, who makes day pass into night, who distinguishes day from night. Adonai Tzevaot is your name, living and ever-present God. May your rule be with us forever and ever. Baruch atah Adonai, who brings each evening's dusk. U'mahavir yom u'mevi laila, mavdil ben yom u'vein laila, Adonai Tzevaot shemo, el chai v'kayim tamid yimloch aleinu l'olam v'oed. Baruch atah Adonai Hamari V'Ravim, page 40. Ahavat Olam Beit Yisrael Amchavta Torah U'Mitzvot Chukim U'Mishpatim Otanu Limadta Al Kein Adonai Eloheinu B'Shachveinu V'Kumeinu Nasiach B'Chukecha V'nismach b'divrei Toratecha u'v'mitzvotecha le'olam v'oed ki hem chayenu v'orech yameinu u'v'hem nege yomam v'layla v'yavatcha tasim mimenu la'olamim. Baruch atah Adonai Ohev Amo Yisrael. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. V'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavecha u'v'chol nafshecha Uvecha me'odecha vehayu hadvarim ho'ele asher anochi mitzavecha hayom al levavecha v'shinanetam levanecha v'dibarta bam b'shivtecha b'veitecha uvlechtecha v'derech uv'shachpecha v'kumecha ukshartam liot al yadecha v'hayu latotafot b'nenecha Uchtabtam nam zuzot beitecha uvisharecha v'haya im shamot tishmu mitzvah asher anochi. Vayomer Adonai Moshe lemor daber el bnei Yisrael v'yamarta lehem v'yasu lahem tzitzit al kanfei vigdehem ledoratam v'natnu al tzitzit takana petil tachelep v'yalachem letzitzit Oritem hotos, chartem et kol mitzvot Adonai v'asitem notam, v'lo tatu acharei levavchem v'acharei nechem, asher tem zonim achareihem, leman dizgaru v'asitem et kol mitzvotai, v'tem kadoshim leloechem, ani Adonai Elohechem, Asher hotzeiti etachem me'eretz Mitzrayim leot lachem Elohim, ani Adonai Elohechem, Adonai Elohechem, Emet, page 43a. This is our enduring affirmation, binding on us that Adonai is our God and there is none other, and we, Israel, are God's people. God is our sovereign, redeeming us from earthly rulers, delivering us from the hand of all tyrants, bringing judgment upon our oppressors and just retribution upon all our mortal enemies, performing wonders beyond understanding and marvels beyond all reckoning. God places us among the living, not allowing our steps to falter, leads us past the false altars of our enemies, exalting us above all those who hate us. Adonai avenged us with miracles before Pharaoh, offered signs and wonders in the land of Egypt. God brought Israel from its midst to lasting freedom and led them through the divided waters of the Sea of Reeds. As their pursuers and enemies drowned in the depths, God's children beheld the power of the divine. They praised and acknowledged God's name. Page 44. Umalchuto b'ratum ki b'leihem Moshe u'Miriam u'vnei Yisrael l'chol neshira b'simcha rabba v'yamaru chulam mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai mi kamocha nedor b'kodesh nora tehilot osefele malchutecha u'vnecha bo kiyam lifnei Moshe Zeli anu v'yameru Adonai yimloch leolam voed v'nehemar kifad Adonai et Yaakov v'galot mirachazak mimenu baruch et Adonai ga'al Yisrael. Page 45. Hashkiveinu Adonai Eloheinu leshalom Ve'hamideinu malkeinu lechayim Ufaros aleinu sukat shalomecha V'takneinu b'yetzatova milfanecha Ve'hoshienu l'man shemecha V'hagein b'adeinu Ushmotzedeinu vein l'chaim U'shalom yatav yad olam U'fahoselen uskat shalomecha Baruch Adonai Aboret sukat shalom aleinu v'yal kol amo Yisrael V'al Yerushalayim. We rise, page 46. V'shamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat ledoratam barit olam. V'shamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat ledoratam barit olam. Beini uvein b'nei Yisrael oti le'olam, oti le'olam, oti le'olam. V'shamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat ledoratam barit olam. Ki sheshet yamim asa Adonai et ha-shamayim v'et ha'aretz v'shamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat ledoratam barit olam. U'ayom hashvi shavat v'yinafash shavat v'yinafash v'shamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat לעשות את השבת לדורתם ברית עולם. We rise for the silent Amidah for Friday night, pages 47 through 52. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Ki ata Melech Adon lechol Shalom. Ki ata Melech Adon lechol Shalom. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. V'tov be'einecha levarech et Amcha Yisrael b'chol et u'v'chol sha'a bishlomecha. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Tasim Leolam. Tasim Leolam. Page 53. Vayechulu hashamayim ve'haaretz v'chol tzevam. Vayechal Elohim bayom hashvi melachto asher asa. Vayishbot bayom hashvi mikol melachto asher asa. Vayevarech Elohim et yom hashvi. Vayikadesh oto. Kivo shavat mikol melachto. Kivo shavat mikol melachto. Asher bara Elohim lasot. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu v'Elokei Avotenu Elokei Avraham Elokei Yitzchak v'Elokei Yaakov Hoy Elogadol Gibor Vanora Elyon Kenei Shamayim Va'aretz Magen Avot Bidvaro Mechaye Meitim B'mamaro Ha'el HaKadosh she'ein kamohu Hameniach li'amo B'yom Shabbat kodsho Kivam ratza le'aniach lahem Kivam ratza le'aniach lahem Lefanav navod b'yirav afachad V'nodeh lishmo b'chol yom tamid me'ena berachot Elahodot Adon Hashalom Mekadesh HaShabbat Umvarech Shavi Meniach Bikdusha Leam Bikdush Neoneg Zecher Lemase Vereshit Eloheinu ve'Elokei Avotenu Ritzei v'menuchatenu Kadishenu b'mitzvotecha V'tein chelkenu b'toratecha Sabenu mituvecha V'samchenu b'shuratecha V'tahel libein le'avdecha b'emet V'hanchilenu Adonai Eloheinu b'yahava uvratzon Shabbat kodeshecha V'yanuchu vo Yisroel mikadeshei shemecha Baruch atah Adonai mikadesh HaShabbat. We rise as the ark is open, page 56 for Aleinu. Aleinu l'shabeach ladon hakol l'tei gdula liyotzei bereshit shelo asan kagoyei ha'aratzot v'lo samanu kamishmachot ha'adama shelo sam chelkenu kahem v'gor aleinu kechol hamonam v'anachnu korim u'mishtachavim u'modim b'fnei melech malchei hamlachim hakadosh baruch hu shehu notei shamayim liyosed haaretz u'moshev yikarev b'shamayim imav u'shchinatu zo Higavei meromim Hu Eloheinu einod Emet malkeinu evazulato Kakatu b'torato V'yadat ayom Hashivota Elavavecha Ki Adonai Hu Elohim B'shamayim imao V'yal haaretz mitachat einod alpin. Gagadu b'doratech Adonai loch le'lam voed v'nemar Ve'aya Adonai l'melech al kol haaretz Bayomau yeh Adonai echad Ushemo echad. You may be seated. This week we will observe yahrzeits for Bolisi of Zaradel, Abraham Butler, Zeb Capuano, Edward Morris Franco, Ethel Goldblatt, Victor Morris Hannon, Barbara Kramer, Sylvia Rubin, Max Steinberg, David N. Varon, Nisim Beaton, Patricia Siegel Davis, Gerard Karstens, Elizabeth Hobby Wright, Rosie Gellerman, Jacob Schinbaum, Francis Bell Corman, Sherry Silverman, Israel Katz, and Morris Varon. Those observing yahrzeit and those who mourn, please rise and join me, page 58, for the Kaddish Tome, the Mourner's Kaddish. Yitgadal v'yitgadash Shemei Rabba b'yomah divrach chirutei v'yamlich malchutei b'chayechon v'yamechon v'chayei d'chol beit Yisrael ba'agala v'zman kari v'yimaru amen. Yehei Shmei Rabba mevarach le'olam mamel maya yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitba'ar v'yitchumam v'yitnaseh v'yitadar v'yitalev v'yitalal Shmei D'Kudisha b'richu Leila min kol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechamata da'amiran b'yomah v'yimaru amen. Yehi shlama rabba min shemaya v'chayim aleinu v'yal kol Yisrael v'yimaru amen. Oseh shalom b'mirmav uyaseh shalom aleinu v'yal kol Yisrael v'yimaru amen. You may be seated. Thank you for joining me, for joining us this evening. Services will continue tomorrow morning at 9:30 a.m. with a continuation of Shabbat. The Alabama Community Virtual Havdalah will meet tomorrow night. Our time has changed to 8 p.m. Okay, if you come at the normal time at 7, you'll be an hour early. So tomorrow we end Shabbat together at 8 p.m. There is religious school this weekend? No, there is no religious school this weekend. I didn't think so. It is spring break, so that is a mistake, unfortunately. We didn't catch that. Next week, I will be out of town. Cantor Neil Schwartz will be handling services on Friday night and Saturday, so please come out and support him. And I think that's it for now. So we will complete tonight's service, page 211, with Adon Olam. Adon Olam asher malach b'terem kol yitzir nivra li'ed nasa v'chefso kol azai melech shemo nikra v'yacharei kichlot hakol levado yimloch nora v'hu haya v'hu oveh v'hu yiyeh b'tifara v'hu echad v'yein sheni lam shelo lehachbira beli reshit beli tachlit v'lo ha'oz v'hamisra v'hu eli v'chai go'eli v'tzor chevlim b'yetzara v'hu nisi umanosli minat kosi b'yomekra b'yado avkid ruchi b'yet ishan v'ya'iram v'imaruchi geviyati Adonai li v'lo ira Adonai li v'lo